What is up, Mav fans and hoop heads? Wish everyone good vibes out there. I'm AG, your host. Welcome on into another episode of Mavs Rundown. Appreciate you all for listening. And today, man, we're going to go over Hardy's last two games in the Summer League. And of course, they got one more, but we're going to go over the last two. And then got some little spicy rumors, or one rumor specifically. And man, we're going to go and then going to go ahead and dive into some names that maybe the Mavs can get involved with and some trades or, in the whole Donovan Mitchell saga. So we're going to go a little bit into that. But first, we're going to start off with Jaden Hardy, man, his Summer League games. They played Monday and Tuesday. And Monday, of course, they lost by 1 point to Utah. And in that game, Hardy he had 14 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal and a block, 4 turnovers, 7 fouls. But I mean, it was a decent game. It wasn't super terrible, but it wasn't, he definitely didn't stand out like 28 points. But again, I like him getting, the 6 rebounds, 5 assists still. That was really, I like that. And then steal and block. He's out there, at least, putting stats up. I like that. And AJ Lawson in that game, he had 15 points and 12 rebounds, back from his 6 made threes in the first game. He scores 15 in that second one. Those two guys, again, looked like good standouts. And Harding in that second game also had a really, the best, he had the high scoring game, most efficient too, 8 of 14 off the bench, 18 points. So good stuff from them. But mainly Jaden Hardy, man, he did look decent. You looked, they had the assistant coach on the broadcast for last night's game, the third game I'm about to talk about. And they just want to see him build and, develop. They want to see, they know what they're going to ask from him, and they need to start putting him in positions to be able to flourish in those moments once, the role stuff, the regular season, it's, NBA basketball. It's big time ball. And so right now in the Summer League, they're just trying to get him adjusted, get him used to it. Right now, he's like the main dude. So, of course, he's getting all these things, having to handle the ball and do all this stuff. And really, he's kind of an off guard who can handle it a little bit. And of course, I think he'll grow into that. I think he looks like a pure bucket getter. Like he can go out and just get a bucket. And of course, with time, he'll grow into his body. He's still young, so of course, once he grows and gets bigger, stronger, like all these finishing moves, and he'll be able to, create even more separation. I like his moves, all his step backs, he's really got a nice game. He reminds me a little bit too of like kind of the MVP of the Summer League right now. They're saying like Cam Thomas for the Nets. He's kind of like a young bucket getter. That's kind of shades of that with Jaden Hardy. So I like that. It's like what you see, and I like that he's out there getting 5 assists at least in that second game. And then Tuesday's game, man, they just kind of got waxed by the Phoenix Suns. And nobody really did well on our team. Harding again came out with a efficient game. Got to say, give him props. 20 points on 7 of 13, 3 threes, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. That's pretty nice. But Jaden Hardy, and then you're looking at AJ Lawson, who are kind of the standouts of the first two games. They didn't do so well. I mean, Hardy again had 11 points, 6 rebounds, 0 assists though, but 2 steals, a block, 4 turnovers. Minus 29. AJ Lawson was minus 29 too. He had 10 points though, 4 rebounds. They just didn't bring it then. Not a good game. You saw some flashes here and there. A couple threes. Nice little layup attempt driving to the basket. You did like in this game he didn't do it so much, but in the first two games, him getting to the line was big. I like that, seeing that from Hardy. That was another thing I wanted to note. Him getting to the line, be able to just drive, that's a good sign, and because that just opens up the rest of his game. And everyone thought he was going to be out there chucking threes, but as long as he's driving and stuff, that's going to open him up to take some of those, or open up for him to take the threes. And then because he's driving so much, they're going to back off just a little bit, and he's going to have even more room. So that's all good signs for him. And of course, this is just kind of a growing pain game. Only 11 points. Again, AJ Lawson not so well either. So, just a lot of things up in the air. Still one game left. So, good signs. Not such a good thing on tape, but one thing I will say, they weren't terrible. they absolutely, well, these guys specifically, especially Hardy, they weren't like absolutely terrible. He's still in double-digit points, 6 rebounds. He's out there trying. He's trying, especially after which game? The Utah game where he was going at Taco Fall every time. He was going at Taco. He didn't care, but I like to see it though. He kept going and trying to try. I mean, the only way you get used to that type of stuff is going against it. Guys like him aren't used to 7 footers, consistently at least, and to see the tallest dude in the NBA basically right now is Taco Fall like 7'7". Going against that'll definitely give you some experience in trying to get around big man like that. So I actually liked it, and I give him props for just attacking him, man, and going after him. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the summary for the last 2 games. Now going into my little rumor, man, per sources, I'm gonna say, man, it's so crazy I'm saying it, but per sources, I have, man, Dennis Smith Jr. is possibly wanted as that third ball handler, and not just a spot on the team, but more so like they believe in him, and he could be that third ball handler we add. Of course, barring another trade that could happen, maybe which hopefully the Mavs are getting involved. Hopefully in another trade to bring back some more guys that we need. But according to per sources, like if things I guess fall through and they aren't able to trade for anyone decently, or at least another third ball handler that these guys really like Dennis Smith Jr. in the office, man. So that's just the word around town. So hey, man, I'm honestly very open to a Dennis Smith Jr. Reunion. Especially with how him and Rick kind of butted, and then it just things fell apart, and it seems like his whole career kind of just fell apart after that. So I think if there's gonna be a revival for him, I think it would be here in Dallas with Luca, with a lot of his staff, a lot of guys that will really believe in him, that have seen him do, uh, you know, basically play his best basketball when he was averaging his rookie year like 15, 16 points and stuff like that, and even his sophomore year I think he averaged was up there in like 14, 15. So it's like we've seen him do it. So maybe he had that workout with the Mavs, and they were invited. I saw that thing going around. So maybe it's true. Maybe they liked what they seen, and I'm open to it. I'm all for come back, DSJ, man. Open arms. I would invite him back to fill that spot. Barring, of course, if we aren't able to land like another a ball handling guy to kind of course, we're all trying to say replace JB. But hey, I'm all for it because maybe on the bright side, he could turn into that, and then of course you have the downside where he'd just be another guy, which of course they wouldn't sign him to a big deal. But I mean, hey, to bring him in for 1 year, see what he's got, I'm all for it, man. And I hope he does well if he does come back, man, because he's uber athletic. And hopefully, with all this time he's been in the league, he's been working on his game, just looking for a spot. And of course, we've seen with the Mavs before, different, change of scenario or change of scenery is pretty big for some guys. And so maybe Dennis Smith coming back would be a big thing. I'm all for it, man. Barring, of course, another trade that would happen to bring in a certified like another third ball handler. I'm all for Dennis Smith Jr. being here. But yeah, that's the news of the day. Now going into other guys and playmakers, I'm just gonna go through a quick list of guys we should go after, and maybe or possibilities and things like that. I'm gonna start with more realistic stuff right now with the whole Jazz situation. Of course, everybody knows, been talking about that. Shit, swing for the fences. I trade, Dinwiddie's, whoever else, and some, what our picks, and get Donovan Mitchell here to team him up with Luka, of course. But of course, I don't think the Jazz gonna go for that. They want a big haul, especially with what they got for Rudy. But if any fallout of that, I mean, if he wants to be here with, I'd take that. But of course, that's being unrealistic. But for real with the Jazz, they got Mike Conley, which of course his contract is kind of is big for, especially with how like little he's been playing lately. He hasn't been as productive as usual. It's kind of looking, his age is starting to show signs of decline. But however, I would like Conley in maybe a backup role, like coming off the bench and being that third ball handler. I like him in that role. Just the money's a little too much, but hey, man, if the Mavs are for it, I'd be for it. Especially not starting Mike Conley. I want to say that too. I don't think he should be starting, but if we get him, I would love to see him come off the bench and play like the old Jalen Brunson 6-man role. and do that. Jordan Clarkson, I'd be open to, but I mean, you have a lot of guys. Jordan Clarkson is one of those who are very streaky. He can get you, 20, 30 one night, and then 5 points the next night. So it's very, but hey, man, if we could get him on a bargain, I'd be open. However, of course, they're gonna try and get rid of maybe Bojan. And hey, man, if we could swoop in, get him in a package with like Conley or something like that, or if it has to be a Jordan Clarkson and Bojan deal, I'd take that to get at least another guard and wing depth. That's good depth to have for this team. We need another ball handler, so at least we get one of those, Conley or Clarkson, and a guy that can get a bucket. Both those guys can do that, essentially coming off in a bench role. And then, of course, we get wing depth in Bojan. So I'm all for getting Bojan if we have to either, take on Jordan for that, or, if we somehow get Mike Conley with it. I'm all for that. Of course, I don't want to give up any of our main pieces. It's all depending on what we'd have to give up, which, of course, is tough. But, I mean, Maxey is definitely looking like I bet he's probably in the trade. Even though we want to keep him, man, if we can get another big addition, man. We're at the parts some ways. You gotta, crack some eggs to make an omelet, so to speak. And man, it's tough out there, man. So yeah, just scenarios. Who knows what we can get for them? I know they do need a center, so I know Dwight Powell could be in that deal. So that's definitely the good news. And no offense, Dwight Powell, but yeah, I think it's kind of run its course. And now with the recent additions, it's obvious they're going in a different direction. But Jazz looks like they, definitely could be in use of that. So maybe, and of course, I've heard Pat Beverly, which I like him, but he's not really the ball handler, not really the playmaker you kind of need, like a Conley or even a Jordan Clarkson that can give you. But I mean, hey, Pat Bev for the defense, guys that can come off the bench and guard somebody, I like that. But I think we kind of got our own, not to the extent of Pat Beverly, but a good enough backup guard that can, like a defensive guard, and Frank Ntilikina, because he showed that in the playoffs. So I think they want to see him grow and see what they get out of him. So I really don't see a Pat Beverly deal happening unless they swap in a deal somehow. Pat Bev gets in there and then they have to throw in Frank, just for the swap or something. But I don't see them going for Pat Bev. And then more unrealistic ones, but still out there. In the middle, not too far out there, but in the middle range, I think Colin Sexton would still be a nice addition, although, there's different stuff about him where he could go. But I still think, if we're able to somehow, I know the money and the way that could work is all complicated, but I'd still like to see Sexton on this team. I'm still a fan of us still trying to get Kyrie. I know the KD and all that situation, but hey, I am all for if we're getting Kyrie for a 1-year deal, and he's down to be here. If we're gonna initiate, if somehow they like our package or whatever for it, and they're gonna do it, and Kyrie's actually like, all right, I'll go there. He liked J Kidd. J Kidd was a former idol of his because he grew up a Nets fan. So of course J Kidd, who took the Nets to 2 finals as a player in 2000, 2001. Of course, losing to the Lakers back then, Shaq and Kobe. I mean, it's hard to beat them. But hey, man, J Kidd was doing his thing. And that's one of J Kidd's or Kyrie's idols, so to speak, basketball wise. So it'd be cool. I think he would accept maybe coming here for a 1-year deal, playing under J Kidd, and then kind of J Kidd being like, help him prove your worth again, and then he can go out on the market the next year and go wherever he wants to get a big contract or something like that. So I think it would just work out for all parties in that sense. So I'm actually for Kyrie. I know a lot of people with the headache and stuff, but I don't. I'm always thinking basketball. If he wants to be here playing basketball, I think he could do it. Especially if he wanted to play, with LeBron again. Luka's kind of the similar comparison, so to speak, without the athleticism, of course, but similarity of the style of play, they are. So I think Kyrie would fit well next to Luka. Of course, can't complain about adding a 27 points per game, career score to your team. So I like that, and we've seen what he can do in clutch situations and all that. So I'd take that. However, now we're getting to a little bit deeper. I guess it's still a gray area. Ben Simmons, I heard his name floated about, and honestly, if he fell to our team and somehow the fallout, and we just had to take him on, maybe send out Tim or something like that, like honestly, I know fit would be weird and it would like things like that, but I'd take it, honestly. Defensively, that alone is why I'd take it. I'd want Ben on the team for his defense. Of course, I know he ain't gonna be able to shoot worth shit, but I'd take him alone for his playmaking and defense. Just put him at the five. Let him, play five for us and be out there just making plays and whatnot. So if he falls to us somehow in an easy little trade, just because of all the like whatever the trade details, they just need another team dive in or whatever to catch, take on Ben Simmons. Hey, I'm open. Just like the whole Kyrie, if we end up somehow getting Kyrie, hey, I'm open to it. And another trade, actually, this kind of goes, these are more realistic than the ones I just mentioned with Kyrie and Ben Simmons. But what about us going back to the Nets? If they're trying to get rid of KD and Kyrie, if they end up going through with that, Seth Curry reunion? Anyone? Yeah, I think that would be a great thing. Seth Curry coming back. He could be that kind of third ball handler guy, playmaker guy off the bench. We've seen it, especially even already here in Dallas. We knew he can make plays. He's a really good, underrated passer. And of course, he's a dead shooter. His last name is Curry, so he's a good shooter, of course. So I think that would be a great reunion. And still now, something that I wanted, I mentioned on a pod before, another trade that possibly could be made at some point. Maybe, I don't know, the offseason, but maybe during the year or something. But somehow we could snag from the Magic Jonathan Isaac possibly in a trade and have him as a backup wing off the bench or something like that. I'd love that for the Mavs. If we could trade away some pieces, maybe some veteran, maybe they would want to take on a veteran guy like Tim Hardaway, give them some more shooting because they kind of got some guards there now. They got Suggs and Cole Anthony. Maybe they're wanting to part ways with one possibly because those are two short guards. So I don't know if they're really going to build with those two as your starting backcourt. So maybe they want to get rid of one and Jonathan Isaac, bring in some veteran guys that maybe could help lead, like a Tim Hardaway, Dwight Powell package or something like that. Like, hey man, I'm all for it, but I really like I don't know what guard, but I really like us going after maybe a Jonathan Isaac. Just I don't feel like he really fits their timeline now. He's like 26, and of course they just got Paolo and they got Suggs and Cole Anthony are all like young 20s, so early 20s at least. And so I feel like the timeline's like a little bit off. However, I can see them wanting to keep him just because he's, how, good of a player he is. He's 6'10", but he plays like the 4 spot, really good defensively. Used to be able to kind of hit an open three, but I feel like, with the Mavs, you get wide open threes. So I think he could be able to work on a shot and knock those down here for the Mavs. Of course, we take that 6'10", athletic guy that could play, basically guard, 2 through 5. I love that for the Mavs if we can get him somehow for a bench piece, kind of exchange bench piece for Jonathan Isaac to be our, a bench wing, come off the bench. I'd love that for the Mavs. I think that would be great for wing depth, and you still get to keep Dodo and Reggie, and then you just add Jonathan Isaac to it. Like, yeah, then we're talking. Then we just gotta get another old story, two score, another big time score, which of course the whole thing coming about with Christian Wood, of course, maybe coming off the bench or reported that he's going to be, coming off the bench 6-man, which I don't think will be for long if that's even true. I think it's one of those things like how they treated Reggie last year where it was like, we just signed this dude to a what was it, $50-60 million deal or whatever it was, and we're putting him on the bench, and he's barely playing by the end of the year. He's starter, and then by the end of the playoffs, he's playing second most minutes next to Dorian Finney-Smith. So things definitely change over the course of a season. So I think if they do start it like that, if they want to start Christian Wood off the bench and keep Reggie in, I get it, and it could just be incentive for Christian Wood to want to get better, just kind of like a Jalen Brunson, help him get paid, but also get better for the team. They obviously need to see him do things defensively. Obviously, he should be starting for his offensive offensive game, like for sure, he should be starting. But I get they want to bring him off, help him prove himself, and so to speak, to kind of just play some defense, like see if he's truly buying in and doing what he's supposed to do. But I think probably not even halfway through the season, he'll be starting. I don't know if with Wood or how that'll look, but I know he will be starting at some point because they didn't get him to not pair up with Luca. Because I think if he starts with Luca, man, he is like a 2010 guy easy. I think with Luca playing like full starter minutes. Again, I don't think McGee's going to be playing full starter minutes. I think he'll play kind of the Dwight Powell role where he'll start, games, play a little bit, then come out, then we'll throw in like smaller lineup or whatever it is. And then maybe at the end of the game, or if they have just a big that we need to match up another big, he's a good option to go at and play some more minutes. Of course, that's why he signed here too. His championship pedigree, and he's pretty good. Can move his feet even at 34. They're showing, highlights. I remember seeing some highlights against us even. Like, he's able to move his feet still. Like, everyone's, trying to clock him for being 34, man. But these days, man, as you see, it's like the Tom Brady effect, man. Players play a little bit older now. The things that you thought that was young, yesterday, I mean, it ain't young today. So, 34, some of these guys, they're still prime, especially when he didn't play a whole lot throughout his career. So it's like, I mean, he had injuries and whatnot, but he wasn't like a big starter ever. Like, he never got like big minutes. So I'm sure he still got fresh legs in there, a lot more juice in there, just like Goron, which, oh man, I almost forgot to mention the Goron news. That's a bummer. What he said, let me pull up what he said, man. Goron, man, he decided not to come to Dallas. And everybody's wondering why. And he said, this was translated, from Slovenian. And he said, we were in talks with Dallas. They made an offer, but I decided not to take it. They wanted me to play one game and then set out for the next five. I know I could still easily play 20 minutes per game. I'm not ready to retire and just sit on the bench in a cheerleading role. Oh, man, I'm sure all MFLs were like, oh, stab in the heart. So, it just didn't work out. They were offering him basically cheerleader role, just play a little bit, which is crazy to think because he could have definitely been the third ball handler getting what he said once, like 20 minutes per game off the bench. Like, I don't get that. Maybe, I think that's maybe because they have some other things in the works. Like, I guess, they want to try with the upside of like a Dennis Smith Jr., but I think my gut is telling me they're going to make another trade to bring in another third ball handler because we can't go into the season without one when we just established when we have three, we can make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. So I'm looking for this team to add another ball handler next to Luka and Spencer to be kind of the main guys that have the ball and everybody else can fill into their roles. So we're not asking too much of, like Frank playing point or Tim or having Jaden Hardy, his rookie year, come in and play a whole like I want them to grow right, and I want everything. I think you don't want to break what's not broken for us. And us, I get the small ball. We fixed that with the front court. We added Christian Wood, Javale McGee, but now we lost one of our ball handlers, our main ball handler. So that's going to have to be the main thing that we're going after. So that's maybe why we're waiting around now to see what's up with the Jazz, and maybe we could snag, Conley or like a Clarkson or something from them. I know Malik Beasley too, but I don't think he'll be one. He's kind of like another Tim Hardaway, so we don't want two of those. Especially like I said about Jordan Clarkson is kind of the same. But hey, man, if Jordan Clarkson gets you Bojan, kind of do it depending on what you have to give up. But I definitely would not give up like a Reggie or Dodo for that. But I definitely love the way things are shaping out for Dallas, and I really think, again, with my gut, we're just waiting on a trade. I think we're trying to get our hand into something to get another third ball handler in here. I don't know who, I don't know what, but I think that's what the plan is. And I think that's why we kind of, gave the slump deal to go on, because I think they think something else going to happen and he's going to have to play like a little bit. So that I'm kind of read between the lines. Maybe I'm just being super optimistic, but that's just my take. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. This is just a little recap pod, kind of go what's been going on with the Mavs and what's Jaden Hardy lately, and all that. But man, what an off season! And oh yeah, and if you didn't know, they also NBA approved that the play-in tournament is now official. The play-in will be every year. And they also took away that taking the fast break foul, which I love it, the transition take foul. They made it to where now if you do that, stop a guy who's in the middle of a fast break, you get that's automatic, basically like a technical. It's not a technical, but they give you the team that was fouled a free throw and possession. So you're basically giving up a point. I think people will still use that strategically in certain ways, but at least this is the right step forward. So guys will think twice about taking that foul, and more fast break, more dunks is what NBA fans want to see. That's part of the excitement is the fast break. So I think that's awesome, and I love the play-in. So gives more juice to the whole year, and everybody's looking forward to most of the season games now because trying to figure out the whole seed advantage and what seed you need to be in and all that. I love it. So it's giving more juice to the season. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all the Mavs news I got for right now. That's pretty much it. And if you want to follow on Twitter, it's at Mavs_rundown. And the Mavs rundown is free on YouTube along with Spotify and the Anchor app. And I'm AG. Thanks for listening. Remember, cool heads prevail, and I'll see y'all next time on the Mavs Rundown.